Shall we start now, Prabhuji?
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, we are ready.
Hare Krishna. Start, Prabhu.
श्रीराधिकाय हृदयस्य चोरम् नवमहुदश्यामल कान्तिचोरम् पादश्लानां च समस्तचोरम् चोराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि अकिञ्चनीकृत्य पदाशताज्ञा करोति भिक्षं पदीये हरिणम् केनद्यहोऽपि शरचोरयेत्रे दशश्रुतो यदीयनामापि हरत्यशेषम् गिरिप्रसारानपि पापराशे अश्रुरूपो नानुचोरयेत्रे दृष्टश्रुतो भानमया कदापि मानश्च गतेन्द्रियाणि पानशसे पुत्र मम सर्वमेव कलायसे पुत्र चोर नासि मया चिन्नत्सि घोरं यमपाशबन्धम् भिन्नत्सि भीमं पाशबन्धम् चिन्नत्सि सर्वस्य समस्तबन्धम् नैवात्मनो भक्तकृतं तु बन्धम् मनसेतापसराशि घोरे कारागृहे दुःखमये निबद्धम् लभस्महेश्वरा हरिचिराय स्वचौर्यदोषोचितुं देवताय प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचोरम् गोपङ्गनानां च दुःखूलचोरम् अनेकजन्मार्जितपापचोरम् चोराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं चोराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि काराग्रहे वसतात् मदीये मद्भक्तिपाशा सदान्तरेऽपि Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki Jai Hari Hari Bol
जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। संवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। So Prabhuji will start.
Bhakta Das ki jai. Hare Krishna Bhakta. Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you,
Yes,
Prabhu. Mataji, Shiv and Dash. Very well sung as a family. Take care. Thanks a lot, Dash. Very well. Hare Krishna. All the best.
Prabhuji, should we wait for or should we start off?
You can start off.
We can start off. Okay, 1 second, Prabhuji. I'll just move to the desk. So Prabhuji, will we be able to present it?
Prabhu, you are the presenter, Prabhu.
Yes. Okay. Let's start off with it. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavancha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Shri Vishakhavitam Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pesthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pesthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shrivashabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripadhaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnanakayane Prabhave Namaha Madhuryoja Prema Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Saraswati Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta Pantaharine Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambar Sambhuti Padambujaya Te Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavaraye Te Nirveshana Satchana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathaya Te Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurakrishne Namaha Panchatattvatam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakham Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Shri Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopikabhanta Radhakanta Namostute Jaitam Sarito Pangor Mama Manda Matirgati Matsarvasva Padambo Radha Madana Mohana Divyagrindari Kalpadrimad Srimad Ratnagara Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Shalagovindadevam Preshthali Devamano Smrami Srimanyasvasaram Divam Shivata Takastita Karshanvenu Shmane Gopinathaya Sitaha Bhaktakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Pranamami Hari. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so we'll be presenting or we'll be giving the essence of the Chatur Shloka. Right. Let me quickly present it. Yeah, I think Prabhuji is giving access. Prabhuji, I still can't use the presenter option.
You are the presenter, Prabhu.
No, the button is still not enabled, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Try now.
Yes, now it is. Thank you. Now it
Sorry,
is.
Prabhu. Yeah, fine. Hare.
No problem. Yeah. Are you able to see, Prabhuji? Are you all able to see now?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Dandavat Pranam, and we will be presenting about Chatur Shloki. And as much as we are presenting this, we are also learning about the shloka. If there are any mistakes, please forgive us. We'll take your shelter in case there are questions that we cannot answer. And now we'll be starting. Shiv will be starting.
Yes. Yeah, so today we'll be discussing the subject matter of this particular verse from chapter 10.8 to 10.11. Just to do a quick recap, because there was quite a weeks of break that we had. So what we are trying to establish, we will see what Krishna is trying to establish here. By saying that he is being supreme in terms of 10.8, we need to understand the aspect of how he is the supreme. So to give an analogy, just like a pearl is hidden in a shell, and just like a king is surrounded by his entourage, similarly the essence of Bhagavad Gita is revealed in the middle of the conversation with Arjuna by Lord Krishna in the form of most confidential knowledge, as we all know that. And in that also 9th chapter, where we have learned in the last verse, he gives the key essence of Bhagavad Gita. And he states, Rajavidya Rajaguhyam, Pavitramidam Uttamam, and all that. He gives the most confidential knowledge about that. And then when Arjuna heard about the glories and the most confidential knowledge about how Lord Shri Krishna is the cause of all causes, then Arjuna asked, my dear Lord, then why don't people accept you as you are the ultimate and the supreme source of everything? Then why don't they even accept you? Then Lord Shri Krishna says that these fools, they deride me, considering me to be a normal human being, as just a normal human being. And then Arjuna asked, my dear Lord, who are those people who accepts you? Who are those people who then accepts you? Then that is where Lord tells Arjuna that these are the people who accept me are called as Mahatmas. We learned about Mahatmas as well, as to how Lord calls as Mahatmas and how do they accept them. And this is not some kind of a name or a title that has been given to someone. We know the definition of a Mahatma from our Bhagavad Gita lessons which we have learned so far. Lord further explained that there are some who accept him and there are some who do not accept him, and there are others who worship with him. We learned about demigod worship and so on and so forth in the previous chapters, and the relationship between demigods and how Lord Shri Krishna and the Jiva Tattvas as well. We'll see a little bit further on this aspect here. So in this particular slide, Krishna describes the glories of Bhagavad Gita, where the essence or the key point here before entering into the 10th chapter or the knowing to the essence of it is emphasizing on the simple word called as bhakti. Bhakti, which is very simple and it does not require any material qualification. and Krishna is simply pleased with devotion, right? He just states about this is the chapter where Krishna says, if we remember in the 9th chapter, we learned Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Mam Prayachati. So with a little bit of bhakti, if one offers anything, so I willingly accept. But again, he puts a caveat over there, not anything and everything. He doesn't say, yeah, you can give me meat, not meat, etc. But Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, with a little bit of devotion, yes, he's going to accept anything. Right, and then moving on to this particular slide as to how one can fix his mind on Krishna. So we also remember this particular slide 9.34, where he talks about Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto. This is where Arjuna had pondered once again when he was talking about Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto. Right, he pondered once again and asked, Lord, wait a minute. So now, okay, how do we fix our mind? Right, he asked the questions to Lord, saying, okay, now how do we fix our mind? That is where Krishna is going to start with the chapter 10. This is the key link between chapter 10 and 9.34. And we learned in the previous sessions, in the previous session from Saitosh Prabhu as well, as to how one can fix a mind. And this chapter, with the essence of this particular 10th chapter and the shlokas, Chatur Shlokis, he will be describing further his opulences, which are also called as vibhutis, on which a devotee or a spiritualist can fix his mind. In other words, when we see beautiful opulences and powerful things all around in this world, we can easily remember who's the cause of it. Now, just to give you an example, as in when we see a Tesla car around on the road, quite few of us who know a Tesla car, how luxury it is, we might easily connect to the owner of the Tesla car and what he's doing with SpaceX projects and so on and so forth. Who knows about it, we will be able to connect it. That way, he's trying to explain about his vibhuti so that it's very easy for a particular person to connect with it. And this is what is called the essence of the Sambandha Jnana, which Krishna is trying to establish here. When we are able to recognize that who's the source or who's the cause of all this entire creation belongs to, and this is we will be able to understand. And also from one of the lectures of Srila Prabhupada during his morning walk with his disciples when he was walking on the beach or the shore, one of his disciples exclaims, stating, Srila Prabhupada, look how beautiful the sunrise is. And Srila Prabhupada immediately states, if the sunrise is so beautiful, imagine about the painter. If the painting is so beautiful, imagine how beautiful or how great the painter is. So this is where Lord Krishna asks us to hear again. He says, he states, Arjuna, for again the second time and the third time he states, Arjuna, please listen, hear me again carefully here, as he is going to reveal the most of his knowledges in this particular thing as to how he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the key to this particular verse, before getting into his eagerness to hear, right, in terms of eagerness to hear, because there are discourses in the society, people who don't listen to it, or devotees, once they hear this, they will be able to become devotees, they will be able to get into Krishna consciousness, then they will be able to understand. The qualification here is hearing. That is what Krishna is trying to explain. So moving on, we will try to understand the word Bhagwan before getting into the essence of it. Let's try to understand the word Bhagwan.
Hare Krishna. Well, I will just define this word Bhagwan because it's very important for us to understand the Chatur Shloki. Now, to go ahead with, we all might think or have noticed that Srila Vyasadeva, whenever Krishna speaks, he never says Krishna Uvacha, or he doesn't say Govinda Uvacha. Rather, he doesn't say even Madhusudana Uvacha or Vasudeva Uvacha. When it comes to Krishna, whenever he speaks, he says, Srila Vyasadeva starts with Bhagavan Uvacha. Whereas when Arjuna speaks, or when Sanjaya speaks, he says Sanjaya Uvacha. And so why Srila Vyasadeva, the question is why Srila Vyasadeva is calling only Krishna as Bhagavan? And what is the meaning of the word Bhagavan? And not only this, it's also that Srila Vyasadeva, who is also written that, Srimad Bhagavatam, in first canto, he refers, that is Srila Vyasadeva or Sutta Goswami is describing all different incarnations in the first canto. And when he begins in the first canto, he refers as Lord Rama, Lord Nrsimhadev, or he says Vamana, Varaha, Matsya, Kapila, and so on. But when it comes to Krishna, he says that he is once again addressing him as Bhagwan, and in this verse that we have presented, it says he's Bhagwan. And why? Why does it come as he's Bhagwan? And it raises a question. Why does he say this? It's only because he is the supreme God, and he's referring here, and hence he's referring it here. And the shloka goes as एकोनविंशमे विंशति में विष्णु प्राप्य जन्मनि रामकृष्णम् इति भुवो भगवान् अर्हत् भरम्. In the 19th chapter and the 20th incarnation, the Lord advented himself as Lord Balrama and Lord Krishna in the family of Vrishni, the Yadu dynasty, and by so doing, he removed the burden of the world. So here we see that it's referred as Bhagwan in this slide. And so we have, why do we call this Bhagwan? It's very important for us to understand. Where we are aware of all the prominent religions that we have named. There are many more, but we have just named the prominent one. Where the religions say that my God is the best and my God is the supreme. And so there is a supreme Lord. There are Lord of different faiths, or are they different? And how are they different? And what is the truth behind this is the inquisitiveness that we might have. Now, when we take a look at Bhagwan further, let's, for an example, when we call it Christianity, they say that Jesus never said that, Jesus always said, he proclaimed that he is the Son of God, whereas Islam also says that, always say that I'm the prophet, I'm only a messenger. And he never claimed that he is God. At the same time, Moses, he said, I'm the messenger of the God. Where if we talk about Guru Nanak, he also regarded as a great spiritual teacher. However, even in Buddhism also, Buddhism is another prominent religion where here also he was taught as, he taught meditation, and we see that he's also incarnation of Krishna, where he also taught meditation and renunciation, but he never claimed that he spoke, even he spoke that about God, but he never told that he is God. And Mahavir Jain was a liberated person, a perfect soul. He also worshipped God. So none of them actually claimed so far that they are God. And we don't have any scriptural evidence that anybody ever claimed that they are God. And so all the personalities from all the prominent religions claimed that they are not God. But then who is God? Like, this is which is not defined in other religions.
We'll see who is the supreme personality of God.
Yes, the only person so far who's claimed that is Krishna, and we will see how and why it was claimed. I know we're going a bit deeper on this. All of us might know about it, but it's for me and for everybody just to clear out or ease out or iron out all the details. It's just a research from our side. It could be wrong, but then we are just presenting this for once again. Maybe all of us know it. So what is the first definition of God, and does it suffice the definition, or does it suffice for Krishna to be categorized as Bhagwan or God? For that reason, Supreme Personality of Godhead means he must be Supreme Controller, and he must be the Supreme Proprietor, Enjoyer, and he must be the source of everything. Because if this world is not by accident, and hence we are claiming it that way. And if we think that, if we think of ourselves, are we the enjoyer? Are we really enjoying is the question. And yes, we are the enjoyer if we confirm, but we are not the ultimate enjoyer. We may enjoy, it comes, but then it goes quickly. So because for us to be the ultimate enjoyer, one must be proprietor of everything. And if one is a proprietor of everything, then one should also have the ability to control anything. One can control anything and everything only if they are the source of everything. And hence, because one is not the source of everything. I may control temporarily, but I cannot control all the time. And logically and mathematically, it proves that one is not the ultimate enjoyer, and so the ultimate enjoyer can be called as Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we'll further define this aspect, because it's very important for our Chaturshloki to understand this as well. And we're very, very fortunate because of the devotee blessings, where Krishna has already defined, and out of his mercy, we are already aware of this. But Krishna, out of his mercy, he's already explained this in the verse to Arjuna in the 5th chapter as Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam nyatva mam shantim rachati. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. And here we see in these verses that all the tapas or austerities, like he is the one who is Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, he takes it. And I am the God of all gods, he's declaring it. And Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam, I am the benefactor of all, and I am the supreme controller, and I am the supreme cause of all causes. So we are fortunate that it's already declared, and we are already having a proof for this. And in the 7th chapter, in the 7th verse, Krishna establishes how he is the controller of everything. And the verse goes, Matta parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam proktam sutre manigana iva. Sorry. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Supreme controller, this is what we see in the 7th chapter, 7th verse, where he gives an analogy of pearls, that the entire creation is tied along together with each other through a thread. And Krishna says, I am the thread, and that thread by which the whole creation is sustained. And to further explain, Krishna is the source of all. Krishna is the source of the spiritual and the material world. We will be seeing these verses in Chaturshloki, but for that definition source, we are just taking it over here, where he is declared, and he further declares in this chapter itself that he is the source of everything. And the verse goes as Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all the spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engages in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Sorry. And so he's saying in this verse that Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo, that Krishna is declaring that he is the source, and he is the source of the material and the spiritual creations, and he has manifested everything. And he is the source of all. This is what we have seen Krishna declaring. And to further explain, sorry, also we see that in Brahma Samhita, Brahma declares that Krishna as the supreme by saying Ishvara Parama Krishna. And the verse goes as Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is a supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. So here we see that he is in Brahma Samhita. We see that he is saying that he has a form, and he has a form which is Satchidananda, and it's Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva, where he is the cause of all causes, and he is the ultimate cause, and he is the supreme Ishvara. And hence we see that he has declared, even Lord Brahma, who is the creator, which is a misconception that we think, but he's also declaring that Krishna is the supreme. And now we have defined it differently, but to see in other aspects where Srila Vyasadeva defines, or he declares that Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, where in Sanskrit we call as Bhagwan. And now this is what is called a supreme controller, proprietor, enjoyer, and source of everything. And just to define this also, this aspect also.
Yeah, so there is a second definition of it, which we have seen in the last couple of weeks also, which we have learned about this aspect, if you remember, about the Bhagwan, which is given by Parashara Muni from the Vishnu Purana 6.5.47. He discussed about Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Virasya, Yashashashriha, Jnana Vairagyaschaiva, Sannam Bhaga Itigana, where he talks about Bhagwan. Now, Prabhuji, it's already going to be 6:30. Should we continue?
Go ahead, Prabhu, go ahead.
Okay. So this is where he talks about Bhagwan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's he's described in Parashara Muni as to with all his 6 opulences here, who has a full strength, fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. Now, Bhagwan means possessor, as we all know. Just like the word we heard about many words in terms of Dhanwan means who's the possessor of wealth, Vidwan, the possessor of Vidya, and Bhagwan means the possessor of Bhag. And that Bhag is being described here by Srila Vyasadeva, or Parasara Muni. He's describing here is the 6 opulences. And what are the 6 opulences? Aishwarya refers to wealth, Virashya refers to strength, Yashashaha refers to famous or fame, Shriya refers to beauty, Jnana refers to knowledge, and Vairagyasya refers to renunciation. Right? So one might think, what's a big deal about this? I also have a bank account. I have loads and loads of wealth. So, and then I have a lot of wealth. And another might think that I have lots of knowledge, right? And one person might think I'm the most beautiful person on the earth, etc., etc. So, but that's not the meaning of Bhagwan. Bhagwan means here that these things or opulences are in full and unlimited, not partial or not semi. Only that person who has everything and anything in full is called as Bhagwan. Right. So we'll see the first opulence as wealth. After this, yeah. So then we'll see discuss a little bit about the first opulence of God as wealth. In Brahma Samhita, there is a clear explanation. Chintamani prakara sadma shukalpa vriksha laksha vriteshu surabhi avipalayantam lakshmi sahasra sata sambrama sevyamanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Right? We know this one as an aspect of it. This is a scriptural evidence for wealth. However, we all know when we look around in this world, yes, wealth makes a person very attractive, right? So, however, when we think about Lord Krishna and the deity of wealth, as we all know, who's Mother Lakshmi or the goddess Lakshmi, who's said to be the goddess of the wealth. But and we also know the other fact, goddess Lakshmi, where she's always sitting by the side of Lord Krishna and massaging Krishna's feet, always being shown as massaging his feet, and that is Lord Shri Krishna. Okay, I think, okay, so the next slide. Okay, I think we have taken the wrong slide. Sorry for that, but we'll go ahead with it. The second one, the second opulence is about strength. We all know about the wrestlers being wrestling around and so on and so forth. There are many people who might come back and say, I have loads and loads of strength. I go to a gym. I do these exercises every now and then and ensure that I'm fit. But if we think about strength, imagine the strength which Lord Krishna showed when he was just a young boy, 7 years, 7 months, 7 day old, where he lifted not a grass, not a paper, or not anything. Rather, he lifted a mountain, right? And it's not just a fake mountain or anything as such, as we know from the past time. It's a real mountain, which is the Govardhan. That's what is called as strength, right? And the third opulence, as we know, is about fame. That's okay. So the third opulence of God is about fame. To acquire fame in this particular word is a very big task, and even if somebody gets or becomes famous, that doesn't last forever, which we already know that. But think about the God, how famous he's all about. Uh, uh, well, few of us will know about how famous he is. Only people who love him will know how famous he is in terms of when we are worshiping him, and definitely when we, with our motive as devotion, when we love him, we know how famous he is. In fact, atheist also knows how famous he is, but atheist spends their life talking about the God does not exist. uh, like all these other personalities we know in Hollywood or on Bollywood or anybody, they might be very famous. But think about Krishna. He stole Makhan, and still we call him as Makhan Chor. But imagine if we have stolen something, what we will be called. Similarly, when he runs away from the battlefield, and we know him with a very famous name as Ranchod, right? And he does so many leelas with gopis, which we call him as Gopinath. So he's famous. It's not that these words which we are just picking up and giving it here, but it's about these words are very elaborated, very much in depth in the scriptures as well. And it is just not a one incident or multiple incidents. There are numerous incidents and activities and aspects that have been listed in the scriptures and in Bhagavatam about how famous he is. Should we continue the opulence and then we can continue the rest of the part in next class, Prabhuji? Is that fine?
Okay, Prabhu. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So the fourth opulence is, as we all know, which is about Shreya. Shreya means beauty, right? Now we will be able to identify as living species within our species as how we are beautiful. Let's say if somebody walks in this particular room, or as and when we see a beautiful person, we'll be able to say how beautiful the person is. But imagine if any animal walks in. Yeah, yes, we may argue, you may argue saying, yeah, if there is a peacock around, well, the peacock is beautiful, or any other animal which we like is beautiful, we might say, yes, that particular animal is beautiful. But imagine if there a cockroach or any other creature which we hate walks around. We will never say it's a beautiful. But we know from the past times, in terms of Jharkhand forest, when Lord walked around within the forest, we know how the monkeys were jumping around, the trees, all the animals. In fact, the birds as well, right? And in fact, the trees were almost, whenever he used to walk in the Vrindavan, whenever he used to walk in Braja and Vrindavan, the trees used to hang around or bend down so that Krishna can pluck those fruits and have. So that's how famous he is, and that's his beauty, right? It is not only the animals, not only the birds or the creepers, even the trees. So this is how his shadow, and that's how we are protected from him, from the sunlight and everything. That's how beautiful the Shreya is talks about here. Right. So moving on to his fifth opulence. The fifth opulence was about, yeah, the knowledge part, right? So in terms of talking about the knowledge, yeah. So for example, let's say if we have to give a speech or a lecture, let's say to give this particular speech or a lecture or a presentation, we have to do a lot of homework in terms of Google the internet, research from here and there, and then get information and put that information together, validate it with someone, and then present it, right? But imagine Lord Krishna, right, in the way he has narrated Bhagavad Gita. It was like, as in when Arjuna asked Krishna in the battlefield, he was so impromptu, right? He was so impromptu in terms of explaining or giving him information about the Gita. And as we all know, the Bhagavad Gita, how beautiful it is, right? The more we learn about it, the more we get the source about it. No matter what, how many times we read it, that much times or that much degree we acquire the knowledge or the wisdom from this particular thing. So every time we learn and every time we speak about Bhagavad Gita, it gives a new tattva. That beautifully how he has given the stuti as well as the shruti mantras or the shlokas in this. And at the same time, he has also explained via this in terms of the second in the what you call in the 7th chapter, second verse. Also, he is explained where he speaks about the knowledge. If I recollect it properly, he says, "Jnanam hetam se vijnanam idam yaktam asetah yaj gyatva neha bhuya nyaj gyatvayam avishyate," where Krishna says this, being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know you. So he says, once you know this, nothing further you have to know. So he was giving the entire knowledge download to what you call Arjuna, right? But while listening to this, one of you might ask, or all of you might be wondering, there could be someone, right? What's a big deal about it? One might have wealth, one might be beautiful, strength, so on and so forth. But what about renunciation, right? How can we talk about the renunciation part, which is also one of the opulences? But think about Krishna, right? When if we think about Krishna, when Arjuna asked him, right, just before in the battlefield, when he asked him, "Would you be my charioteer?" Right? So Krishna did not even think twice. He immediately chose to that. Yes, I will be able to be your charioteer. This Krishna, who was like whose feet is being massaged by the goddess Lakshmi, became a charioteer. And we know many pastimes about how Sudama washed his feet and so on and so forth. So this is the evidence, or the second evidence, of how he is Bhagwan, right? So we saw the first evidence of how he is Bhagwan and the second evidence of how he is Bhagwan with the opulences, and that's how we will be able to connect it in terms of the Chatur Shloki, moving on to Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. Right. So should we continue this, Prabhuji, or should we take a break in the interest of time? I think, yeah.
I think we'll
Yeah, I think we'll do this aspect. So we were trying to explain all these things so that I know all of us are aware of all these concepts, but we were just trying to emphasize in terms of so that we set the base for this Chatur Shloki to understand how the Sambandha Jnana and Prayojana and so on and so forth in this, and the Avideya aspect of it. If there are any questions, sure, we'll try to answer so far, or we will take your shelter, Prabhuji. Else, we will, yeah, else I think we can stop here and we can continue in the next session. If that's
yeah,
okay.
Hari. Thanks, I think we should continue next week. A few things. So I will resolve the evaluation later, or assessment. But a couple of things that you need to remember is what is the core topic that you wanted to talk. I thought it was Bhagavad Gita 10 and Bhagavad Gita 10, 8 and 10, 9, right? Is that the one, or there is a
8, 9, 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Yeah. Okay. So fine. So that be the case. I think today you gave a lot of prelude information. So next week, I think you be on the topic straight away on 10, 8 and 10, 9 or whatever shlokas, because this is a very time constrained slot for Sevadari presentations. So you can just stick to the shloka that is given, or shlokas that are given, or the topic that you're given. So try to reduce the introduction to the bare minimum, so that you can dwell more on the topic. That's more important. Since the first time that you are doing it, it's fine, but that's how the nature of the program is, so that we all understand and try to learn and try to improve our communication skills. There is no end to improve these always, but we should make a conscious attempt, because ours is a preaching moment. We need to be preachers, and the time is the essence. So we need to stick to the time and also stick to the topic given. So
Sure.
that will be easy. Because assuming that suppose you are invited by somebody, this is a forum, right? This is where we learn. Suppose you are invited in an NBS program, Nityam Bhagavad Seva, to speak by Tulsi Prabhu. So there you have only 45 minutes, and if you take 35 minutes in introduction, there are hundreds of people listening, right? So first thing is to cater to the requirement of the organization and organizer and the audience is an important aspect of thing. It's very common that when we are in the beginning stages, we want to tell everything what we know to the audience. That is very good, and it always happens. But then we need to curtail that and just stick to the point. So if it's 10.8
Sure.
is a subject, we should straight away go to 10.8. Some introduction is okay, because that's how you taxi, right? You can't just fly off, but that time should be minimal. You cannot explain 10.8, 10.9, 10.10, 10.11 without referring to the purport of Srila Prabhupada. So in all the 30-40 minutes that I've seen you presenting, hardly I've seen a very specific reference to Prabhupada's purport. Maybe you've taken it, but that aspect is not there. So this is a very little thing. I can share it with you, a detailed one, when you finish those things. But next time, stick to the point, because you have made some good innovation. One thing I liked is the source proprietor enjoyer controller concept. That's nice. You have something new to learn, but then try to stick to the point. That's very important for you, and that makes it more easy to understand. Because I was wondering whether I misunderstood the topic or you have covering more.
No, Prabhuji. Actually, how maybe it was our mistake. Thank you for the feedback. So, no, so yeah. So how we thought is, rather than one person talking completely this week 30 minutes and next week 30 minutes, we thought we will give an introduction and we will start with the 10.8 as well, and then 9, 10, and 11 we will continue the next week. That's how we took a little bit of what you call introduction here. That's a, yeah.
But we started the wrong slide problem.
But we started the wrong slide with
This
it.
was an incomplete slide, so he just continued with that.
Yes.
No, it's okay. It's all learning. Yeah, we all learn. No problem. Hare
Yes,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. So we will move to the our session today. Okay.